In the heart of a nation torn by hardship, a community rises, fighting not just for survival but for hope, unity, and the future. This is the story of resilience, where ordinary people become extraordinary, and from the soil of struggle, new life blooms. Can they outlast the storm and build a legacy that will stand the test of time? Watch as they transform scarcity into strength. Once upon a time, in the heart of Nigeria, there was a young man named Femi. He lived in the bustling city of Lagos, where the sun scorched and opportunities shimmered like a mirage in the desert. The country was facing a great economic hardship, and it seemed like every corner you turned, there was no escape from the rising cost of living. Femi, with a small family to care for, felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. He knew he had to find a way to survive. Femi once worked as an electrician, but like many others, he lost his job when the company he worked for could no longer afford to keep its doors open. Job opportunities were vanishing like smoke in the wind. Femi visited the job market daily, hoping to find something, anything, to keep food on the table, but each time he returned empty-handed, the pain in his heart deepened. The cost of everything skyrocketed. Even a bag of rice was becoming unaffordable. Every trip to the market left Femi feeling defeated as he watched prices rise daily, beyond what his pockets could handle. The frustration among the people was palpable, and Femi wondered how long they could all keep going before something gave. One evening, Femi gathered with a few old friends at a local bar. They discussed their struggles, sharing stories of job losses, rising debts, and families in need. But amid their shared hardship, they also brainstormed ideas on how to survive the economic storm. The next day, Femi decided to take his friends' advice. He cleared a small plot of land behind his house and began planting vegetables. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Shola, too, got involved, helping to plant beans, peppers, and maize. They hoped that in time, this small farm could at least feed their family. As Femi worked on a small farm, he noticed his neighbors struggling just as much as he was. An idea began to take root. What if they worked together as a community? If everyone contributed a little, they could create something much bigger than individual efforts. He approached his neighbors with the idea, and though some were skeptical, many agreed to join him. Soon, the community farm began to take shape. Each family brought seeds, tools, and whatever skills they had. Together, they planted a variety of crops and shared the workload. It was hard labor, but the spirit of unity gave them strength. Femi realized that while the economic crisis was far from over, there was hope in solidarity. One day, a government official from the local agriculture department visited the community. He had heard about their efforts and was impressed by their determination. He offered them access to better seeds and tools, as well as advice on how to improve their yields. This unexpected help lifted their spirits, reminding them that not all hope was lost. Months passed, and the crops began to grow. The community gathered to harvest their produce for the first time. It wasn't enough to sell in the market, but it was enough to feed their families. For the first time in a long while, Femi felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing that they were taking control of their future. The success of their small farm gave Femi and the community members the confidence to dream bigger. They started discussing how they could expand their efforts, possibly turning their surplus crops into a small business. Could they beat the economic hardship, not just by surviving, but by thriving? The community's vision expanded as they realized that their small farm had potential beyond just feeding themselves. Femi and the others began discussing ways to sell their surplus crops at the local market. They reached out to nearby communities, offering to share their knowledge and resources in exchange for cooperative trade. Soon, neighboring villages joined their efforts, and the farm grew into a regional venture. Just as things were starting to look up, new challenges arose. Pests began to infest their crops, and the rains, which they had depended on, were delayed. It seemed like nature was conspiring against them. The community feared they would lose everything, but Femi, determined not to give up, suggested they find experts who could help them combat these issues. Femi and a few community members traveled to the nearest city, seeking advice from agricultural experts at the local university. They learned about pest-resistant crops, irrigation systems, and natural ways to protect their fields. Armed with this new knowledge, they returned to their community ready to face the new challenges head-on. Back in the community, Femi led the charge to implement the new techniques they had learned. They introduced natural pesticides, built makeshift irrigation systems using water from a nearby stream, and began planting more pest-resistant crops. Slowly, the farm recovered, and the crops grew stronger than before. The community saw how innovation and ingenuity could overcome even the harshest challenges. With their crops healthy again, Femi and his fellow farmers began selling their produce at local markets. The demand was higher than they expected, as many people were eager for affordable, fresh food amidst the economic downturn. Slowly, their profits grew, and the community began to see the light at the end of the tunnel. As the market expanded, the community caught the attention of a local food processing company. They offered a contract to purchase the crops in bulk, providing the farmers with steady income. Femi and his friends were overjoyed. It seemed like they had finally found a way to survive, and perhaps even thrive, in the midst of Nigeria's economic crisis. Success brought its own set of problems. The sudden increase in demand for their produce put pressure on the community farm. Some members began to argue over how to divide the profits and responsibilities. Femi found himself in the middle of disputes, trying to keep the group united while maintaining the farm's growing production. Seeing that the community was at risk of falling apart, Femi called a meeting. He reminded everyone of how far they had come together and urged them to put aside their differences for the greater good. They created a system of shared responsibility and profits, where everyone contributed equally and reaped the benefits. Once again, unity became their greatest strength. With the farm flourishing, Femi began to think about the future. He started teaching the younger generation about farming, business, and sustainability. He knew that for true change to last, the youth needed to be involved. They were eager to learn, and soon, the children were taking part in the farm's daily operations. The community's success didn't go unnoticed. People from other parts of Nigeria came to learn from Femi's group, hoping to replicate their model. Femi and his neighbors were happy to share their knowledge, offering workshops and helping others start their own community farms. It was their way of giving back, knowing that by helping others, they were making the country stronger as a whole. Though the economic crisis continued, Femi's community had learned how to weather the storm. They had built something strong enough to withstand the challenges, and more importantly, they had learned to rely on each other. Even as prices rose and jobs remained scarce, they found ways to adapt and survive. Femi had gone from struggling to feed his family to becoming a leader in his community, showing others that survival was possible with determination and unity. In the face of adversity, it is not wealth or status that ensures survival, but unity, resilience, and the power of innovation. When we lift each other, we rise together.